going on? Get the fuck off me! Get off me! Get off me! Someone's coming towards me. I'm grabbing his skull and I'm throwing you. Me how fuck nigga.
They got the most terroristic DBs of all time.
And with that, that is the end of college football week 9. And to be honest, not much really surprisingly happened at all this week. A lot of teams pretty much went out, handled their business. Very few teams weren't able to get the job done. Some teams absolutely did not get anywhere close to getting the job done. But we're going to cover that later to the video. I'm here with my coach, Jordan, man. And Jordan, what do you think of this week of college football? Me personally, I'm ecstatic right now. I'm chilling. I'm cruising.
This was a great week of football. You know, this was quite the exhibition match between a bunch of great athletes going out there and showcasing why they are great athletes and why they are so highly touted coming out of high school and maybe even coming from another college. I do, in fact, think that this week was one of the better weeks of the sport.
Well, this week also personally also showed that some of these players that decided to stay back for another year should have probably left for the NFL draft. But I mean, hey, that's out of my hands. But you already know, we're going to get straight to it. And before we do anything else, talk about the games, we're going to go with our favorite segments. First, team all upset. And we have 3 special teams this week that made this list. Shout out to USF. Absolutely shitting the bed. Blowing a 17-point lead to Memphis and pretty much killing their G5 spots of making the playoffs at this point. Y'all is cooked. I can't even hold you. Illinois. What the actual fuck happened? Y'all got dealt to ass by Washington. That there's nothing more that needs to be said. And lastly, ASU falls to Houston for the upset. Those right there are your members, your newest members of First Team All Upset. Without further ado, I'm gonna let Jordan take it away for us and give us the first game of college football week 9.
Friday night was quite the game. You see, if you go down to Nevada hosted the Boise State Broncos, and the Boise State Broncos played quite the game. Now, you know, Madsen did not have the best game of quarterback. He did throw an interception and not too many touchdowns, but the run game did get involved, and they were just a better team on this night. Honestly, not much to say about this besides a great game for Boise State, and great job at not only allowing them to get back into the G5 playoff race, but also going bold.
Hey, shout out to Boise State, man. Well, take it down to another place. Oklahoma takes on Ole Miss. Jesus Christ, you gonna crash out. Oklahoma takes on Ole Miss, and man, this game right here, this game was honestly pretty damn good up until certain points. OU, y'all's defense played absolutely terrible today. I don't know if it's Trinidad Chambliss and he's just out here deciding to torch teams, or it's just teams that don't know how to play defense when they decide to play against, bro. But at the end of the day, that man went out there, did his thing. Kwan Lacey had a field day. That brother was balling. That man was doing his damn thing. And I was actually surprised because for OU, they're known for their being able to stop the run. They're known for their defense. That was not the case today. These niggas was getting gashed. Man, and speaking of getting gashed, John Mateer, I feel bad for this dude because OU is genuinely torturing this man to play every single damn week. He's not healthy. He needs to sit the fuck down. Y'all force him to play against Texas in the Red River. That man threw 4 interceptions. Y'all force him again to play this week. Albeit y'all got a good one against South Carolina. The dude's not ready to come back into the game yet. Y'all need to let this man recover. It may just be me, but he doesn't just look the same because his hand is still injured. But at the end of the day, Ole Miss pulls out the win over Oklahoma, 34-26. They keep their playoff hopes alive. Oklahoma's playoff hopes at this point are probably cooked. But yeah, man, that's all I gotta say about that.
Well, I say we take this to Charlotte, North Carolina, for another great exhibition match between a G5 contender, and that was the University of North Texas Mean Green Eagles. Drew Mestermaker went out there and he broke the school record for passing yards. And what a day, man, for that guy. What a guy. It's always great to have a quarterback who really can take the team and lead them to greatness, man. You know, great all around. The run game also kept going. You know, it's crazy how both can happen at the same time. Some teams don't know how that works, but hey, at least UNT understood, man. Great fight by Charlotte. Didn't really give up, despite the fact that they're a 1-7 team. You know, it somehow wasn't that difficult for them to stay in the game and really compete until the very end. You know, it got out of hand, but that's because the better team was playing them that day. And of course, I'm sure with more talent that they would have kept the game closer, because that's what teams with talents do. Nothing else to say about this.
Man, well, going down to a glorious battle for the G5 spots, man. USF takes on Memphis. And this game right here was pretty much going to narrow down who the last couple teams remaining to get that last spot were going to be. And before we even know, spoiler alert, USF is not that team. They go into this game, and at the start of this game, Byron Brown threw an interception, didn't look too good. Memphis went back 7-0. But USF starts rallying back, takes the lead, goes up 17. Sadly, they don't know how to keep a fucking lead because they blew that 17-point lead. Brandon Lewis, you deserve a statue, my nigga. When you leave this school, they need to build a statue in your honor because the shit you did in those last 2 quarters right there, that right there is perseverance personified. That's what you do when you want to win. That's what you do when games are on the line. Memphis pulls up the comeback win to upset number 18 USF and keep their Group 5 spot hopes alive. That is all for this game, man. Great game. Actually, really good game for both these teams.
We take our travels to Indiana, where they hosted the UCLA Bruins, and Nico Amalivia did not have a great performance, despite the fact that he has had 3 very strong performances in a row, and it seems like he was going to finally turn the season around. His luck ran out, and that's unfortunate for him, man. Other than that, great game for Indiana. They went out there and they laid belt, and they're looking kind of dangerous. Of course, we need to see them play more competitive teams. You never want a team to sneak up on you and make you realize that they're ass last second. You never want to do that. So it's very great that finally, Indiana's out there, they're competing. It's great when franchises who have a little bit of a history with great players continue that history, whether it's hard or not. They like to fight past adversity. And I like teams that do that.
Man, speaking of teams that fight adversity, Alabama, South Carolina. This game right here is why nurses and doctors study the human body. This is why EKGs exist, because this game had my fucking blood pressure through the goddamn roof and almost gave me a heart attack. But you want to know what? When it comes down to it, this is what a championship team that understands what they need to do to win does. Alabama goes into South Carolina for South Carolina's homecoming game. And I'm not going to lie, things were looking rocky at first. We go down. At some point in this game, we're down 22-14. But you know what? Ty Simpson puts on his helmet, puts on his jersey, his pads, starts blasting. I don't know if he was blasting Youngwood, but that man went on that field. Drove down that field. We are down 8 points. Not one time during this drive did I think to myself, we're not going to get this shit. I had complete faith in this nigga. This man drives down the field. Boom. Touchdown. We need a 2-point conversion to tie this game. This nigga, no hesitation. Bam. Ryan Grubb, greatest play call I've ever seen in my life. Bam. Hut. Cuevas. End zone. Bam. 2-point conversion. Game is tied 22-22. Defense today. Run defense was ass, but the defense today stepped up and got takeaways when we needed it most. They get a takeaway, fumble the ball, get it out of that nigga Lenore Sellers' hands. Alabama takes the ball on South Carolina's 20-yard line, 25-yard line. I don't give a shit. Jeremy Bernard, sneak play, bam, goes the entire distance. Alabama pulls out the win and survives the upset alert to get the dub 29-22 over South Carolina. This right here personifies what you got to do to win. I don't want to hear shit. This is what you got to do to win, man. Bama puts the city on their back going into the bye week, get a dub. God is good. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide indeed, my brother. Going on down Texas Tech and the Red Raiders, after coming off a very upsetting loss to Arizona State, Will Hammond was ready to choke a bitch. And unfortunately for Oklahoma State, they were going to fall victim to that choke a bitch, because he sure did go in there and he choked that bitch. Oklahoma State stood no chance. They walked in the door dead and they left deader somehow. I don't know how that works, but they sure did find a way. It became possible on this day for people to die twice, because Oklahoma State did it. 48 passing yards for their quarterback. I mean, that's impressive. You got to try to be that ass, but maybe not. Maybe it's just easy for quarterbacks to play like ass. Maybe the quarterback position is just too hard for some people. Maybe some people just shouldn't play the position. Maybe some people aren't built for it. And maybe some people should have foregone their senior year and just went to the NFL, because now they've killed their draft stock and now they will no longer play in any league ever. That has nothing to do with this Oklahoma State game. A great game from Texas Tech. The Red Raiders continue to fight on for the Big 12 title, and hopefully they'll be able to win that.
Man, well, speaking of teams being able to keep their hopes alive and fight on, man, Vanderbilt versus Missouri. Before we start this game, condolences to Bo Pribula. That man's leg is probably gone. He's also part of the team of a few people who decide to kill their draft stock by coming back. Honestly, it was out of his hands, bruh. Penn State decided to fuck him, so it is what it is. This game really not much offensively happened. Both teams were kept turning over the football. This was really a defensive game right here. And in terms of that battle, Vanderbilt's obviously going to win that, being one of the best defenses in the SEC. Get the job done. 17-10, get a win over Missouri. And hey, keep their playoff spots and hopes alive once more.
Teams keeping their playoff hopes alive. The Miami Hurricanes are coming off a very, very disappointing loss to Louisville Cardinals. And one player took that extremely personal in particular, and that was Mark Fletcher Jr. He took that extremely personally. You know how I said that Texas Tech wanted to choke a bitch? Well, Mark Fletcher wanted to Chris Brown a bitch, and he sure did. He went out there, 3 touchdowns, 23 carries, 119 yards on the ground. Stanford didn't stand a chance. And that's really unfortunate, man. I love teams that fight like this. Stanford, despite the fact that they knew they didn't stand a chance, they went out there, they converted 4 third downs. Converting third downs, that's a great way to gain momentum. And I'm glad that they decided to do that, and they didn't, just give up on the team, and the coach stopped caring, because as a coach, you should always care about your team winning games. I don't understand why you wouldn't care if your team is down. You are the leader, and you should definitely be the reason why they're still fighting.
You got that, man. Jesus. Well, for going down to another belt-to-ass game and just sellouts. Iowa State, y'all are frauds. I've come to that conclusion after this point in time. Rocco Becht, I was really high on you at the start of this season. Nigga, what the hell? Y'all started off so strong, and that's really because of Carson Henson. That man was doing everything he could to win y'all this game. 116 carries for 152 yards, 2 touchdowns. I did everything I can to win y'all this football. All right? But sadly, Iowa State's defense just couldn't do shit. Iowa State's quarterback couldn't do shit. They end up losing 41-27 to BYU. BYU keeps their playoff hopes alive. The Mormons survive another Mormon war. They go on. Keep doing their thing. Fight on.
And teams fighting on. Arizona State, they just decided not to fight. They just decided, what if we didn't put up a fight? Houston just went out there and they kind of just bitch slapped them. Went up 24-0 in the third quarter, and they never looked back. I really don't know, how a team could do this. How could a team just give up? I mean, I know they've lost, but they had a chance. They had a chance to go out there and win. And when you have a chance to go out there and win, it's always about giving your best effort. And you should never just quit, right? There's no reason to quit when you always have a chance of winning. Even when the quarterback, Sam Levitt wasn't playing that good. You know what they did? They pulled him out. They put in a new quarterback. They tried to reinvigorate the lineup. I wonder why. I wonder why you did that. You should probably do that when the starting quarterback isn't generating offense. And you guys have scored 0 points in a long time. Maybe putting in a new quarterback would plug in some more energy. And that's exactly what Arizona State did. Great game from Houston, however. They played well. And that's all I got to say, man. The Big 12 is up in the air.
Like usual. Like motherfucking usual. Man, speaking of another team up in the air, Texas, I don't know if they want to be labeled as frauds or they want to be a proper football team. And this game really emphasized that I have no clue whether which one is going to be true or not. Texas goes on to go take on Mississippi State. And I feel bad for Blake Shapen. That man did everything he could for this damn team. You go 26 for 42 for 381 and 4 touchdowns. You still lose a football game, and you're up 38 to 21 at one point, and you still lose. There's nothing more you can do, bro. It's completely out of your hands. Texas gets the OT win against Mississippi State, 45 to 38. Arch Manning, he's starting to get better. I'm seeing improvement. He didn't play, impeccable football, but at the same time, he didn't play bad. 3 touchdowns, 246. No, actually 346, correction. With almost 50 passing attempts, but not bad at all. They get the job done, and yeah, that's all there is to it.
And the final game I have on my docket, TCU versus West Virginia.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Josh Hoover, what a quarterback, man. I love seeing this kid play quarterback. He goes out there, he's just slinging darts against the defense. He didn't have the greatest game ever. All right, he only threw 1 touchdown pass, but that's not what matters. What matters is the heart that you go out there and play with, and that's exactly what they played with. Both teams went out there and played with heart. Despite the fact they're not really fighting for much. Both teams are kind of middle of the pack. I mean, TCU, they could still get a Big 12 championship. They get a little foggy, but it's all up in the air. But that's not what matters. What matters is the effort that you put out there on the field, and also what matters, maybe these guys go to the NFL. Josh Hoover, he's a guy I could see in the league. He makes good decisions, doesn't crumble under pressure. He doesn't, shit the bed when it matters the most. He doesn't give up on his team when they need him the most. He doesn't do that. You know what he does? He stands in the pocket and he delivers like a good pocket passer should. And also, he didn't demand to wear a TCU Legends jersey number because he thinks he's the shit. He didn't do that. He just wore his number. He played his own brand of football. And that's what you want out of a quarterback, man. Great game from TCU. Move on to 6-2.
Man, and with that, the final game of this college football week 9 slate. Michigan takes on Michigan State, the revival of a rivalry of in-state teams. And to be honest, there is no rivalry being revived. Michigan State, y'all's offensive line actually might be a terrorist organization, because I didn't know this until I was watching the game, but y'all's quarterback has been sacked 21 times this season alone. So I don't know if y'all are pulling the Terry Rozier and y'all got some money, on the overs for sacks allowed by y'all every single game. I personally don't really give a shit, but just putting it out there for everybody to know, because honestly, they really tried their best. That man Childs tried every single thing he could to bring this team a W, but at the end of the day, offensive line plays like buns, defense plays like buns. And at that point, everything got out of the hand for Michigan State very quickly. There was nothing more they can do. Justice Haynes came back, started balling. Bryce Underwood all of a sudden started balling. Jordan Marshall started balling. The 3 usual suspects just touching the defense. the 3 usual suspects, nigga. Everybody just touching niggas on the field, bro. Secondary is just... God, this was a really bad loss for Michigan State, and they go down to 3-5. This team, their morale is done. Their quarterback is probably questioning why he went to this sorry-ass program. Man, hey, Michigan gets the W over Michigan State, man. Nothing more to it. No expectations for Michigan State winning this game. Woo!
All right, man, I think we covered every game.
All right, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is our Week 9 college football weekly review from a lot of teams getting the job done this week. Oh, Jordan, you have anything
No.
to say?
I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't.
You want to say? Okay.
No. You know what? You see,
Okay.
I tried. I didn't want to crash out again because I've already been crashing out too much. I've been crashing out too much on this program. I don't want to crash out. But no, let's go to Death Valley. Let's go to Death Valley. Let's go there. Let's talk about it, man. LSU hosted A&M, and this had to be the sorriest performance I have seen from the LSU Tigers in my life. I have never seen a team so dead. Why is what? Why is Brian Kelly still hired? Why? Nigga should have been fired yesterday. Look at his face on the sideline. Look at the zoom-ins they have of him on the sideline. That's not a guy who wants to be on the fucking team. That's not a guy who wants to be coaching this team anymore. That's a guy who knows he's fired. That's the guy who's packing his bags. You know what? Hey, man, I heard a lot about Brian Kelly being a family man. I hope he proves it, because he has a lot of time to be with his family right now. He has a lot of time to be with his family. It's nothing personal, man. You just suck. You inherited one of the easiest jobs in the world. You inherited being the LSU coach, post Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson. Not to mention all the other niggas that were on the defense and the offense. That's not here or there. The big three, you were going to post them. Recruits wanted to play for LSU. People wanted to play for LSU. LSU had a rich history of not only offense and defense. That's something rare that you have. Usually teams have, one position they specialize in, one group of guys. But no, LSU had something special, man. They had multiple players from multiple varying positions going to the league at once, winning a national championship. They put up legendary numbers. And you know what we did? We squandered it. Every piece of talent that has stepped foot on this roster since those years has been squandered. Why was it easier for Jaden Daniels to go to an NFC championship game in order for him to go to the college football playoff? How does that work? How does somebody succeed at a higher level, at the next level? When has that ever been a thing? When has that ever been I've never seen that. I've never seen a quarterback go from no college football playoff to the NFC championship game. He almost went to a Super Bowl. Had he not run into a Super Bowl?
Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is our weekly college football review right there. And man, very, very good week of football, for certain teams. Other people probably wanted to fire their head coach by tomorrow morning, man. But before we leave, you already know we got to go out here with our second favorite segment on the show. And that is our glorious You're Going Bowling segment. Jordan, go ahead and take it away, man.
Pittsburgh, congratulations, you're going bowling. Houston, you're going bowling. TCU, you're going bowling. Iowa, you're going bowling. Washington, you're going bowling. Nebraska, you're going bowling. West Kentucky, you're going bowling. San Diego State, you're going bowling. Hawaii, you're going bowling. Texas, you're going bowling. Hey, Tennessee, you're going bowling. Tennessee's going bowling. That's it. That's all for this week of going bowling, man.
Hey, man, and with that, y'all go ahead and get ready, man. That was really it for our entire week of college football. Pretty good week. Certain teams getting the W, as you can see. Other teams probably going to be cooked by tomorrow morning. But anyways, man, comment down below. What was your favorite game of the week? Whether that was being, if you're an A&M fan, y'all just put belt to ass on LSU. Or if you're a Bama fan and you enjoyed every minute of us having a heart attack against South Carolina, go ahead and leave that in the comment below. And without further ado, before we get out of here, Jordan, do you have anything else you want to tell the people?
Let's look forward to basketball season, ladies and gentlemen, man. All right, let's look forward to basketball season.
Wow. And with that, we are out.